My name is Thomas G. Reichel, and I'm an author, a photographer, and a poet. And I've just written a new book entitled Picture Poems. You met our cute little friend Nacho, the chipmunk, who was on the cover of the book. I caught that little guy eating out of my bird feeder. Matter of fact, he does it almost every single day. My grandson's so familiar with him that he named him Nacho, because his chubby little cheeks jammed with seeds reminded him of somebody chomping on nacho chips. So that's an introduction, first introduction to my book and the pictures. I think this book is unique in that it contains 50 poems that were inspired by 50 photographs, each one taken with loving care in my hometown of St. Paul, Minnesota. I thought I'd show you a few of them just to give you an idea of what the photography is like. This book would appeal to several types of viewers, including photographers as well as curious viewers and students of poetry. Here's a picture of a deer that I took. I was actually driving by in my convertible with the top down, and the deer walked out, and I stopped the car, pulled over, and took the photograph right from my car. Another picture, in addition to photographs of animals, I love birds. Here's a picture of an owl. I also love to do flowers. Here's a lovely yellow rose that I took at the Rose Garden in Lake Harriet. You'll see most of my poetry is from all around the Twin Cities and Minnesota in general. Here's a lovely dragonfly who flew by and landed on this plant as my grandson and I were out for a walk. And here's an example of a sunset. This sunset was taken at Lake Phalen in downtown St. Paul one evening at dusk. Now let me give you an example of some of the poetry, and let's start right here with the sunset. I named this poem Sunset on the Lake. Reflections of the sunset floats upon the surface as shoreline turns to silhouette. Night exerts its purpose. The day is done, and as the sun dips slowly into night, the clouds drift by, reflecting in the evening sky, reflecting scattered light. It's at this time quite solitude exerts a peaceful calm that creates the most restful mood, befitting of a psalm, where moments spent make stress relent to perfect peace of mind. The world can tell that all is well, a wish for all mankind. This photograph was taken at a lake in northern Wisconsin, and I was standing in the woods reflecting through the trees, shooting a picture of the camping chair sitting on the beach, getting ready for my morning coffee. This is the poem that this photograph inspired. It's called My Sacred Spot. Campfires and coffee in brisk morning air, my wandering wishes take me right there. Lazily lean back in my camping chair, there's nary a note of worldly despair. In my sacred spot, where people are not, I listen to birdsong while making meals, squirrels squirry with nuts for winter ordeals. The changing leaves give an autumnal feel. where this sylvan setting is so ideal, in my sacred spot, where people are not. I see geese formations in azure sky, as ducks in their V go flying by. I see an eagle that's soaring on high. Impressions of grandeur have filled my eye, in my sacred spot, where people are not. This dragonfly, I wrote a poem from the point of view of the dragonfly. As we know, dragonflies have thousands of eyes, and people often wonder what they're thinking. And as he stared at this bush, it inspired this poem. It's written in freestyle. I dance the sky on golden gossamer wings that carry me across the fields to play on plants and flowers along the way. The sun shines through my crystal veins to speed me on and light the way as I dance and dart the day away. When I alight, I pause, hanging on as I appraise what heaven has wrought to dazzle all my eyes. I lift my dragon's tail in praise as I gaze at the wonders of the world. You may think this a simple weed. We're not agreed. I can see the unique pedigree, for I have touched 1,000 in my day, and find no two the same. I'll leave you one last one. It's a very simple 4-line quatrain. It's written about the deer. I call it The Buck. He stood there in that stately stance, displaying that velvety valance. And as he stood there in that pose, he blithely licked his big black nose. And as you can see, it might be a little difficult, but as you can see, that deer is actually licking his nose. So that's an example of the poetry, and you can see the book pretty much has a photograph on one side and a poem on the other. And I also explain a little bit about each poem, and I also write about the type of poem it is and give some examples so that people can understand various types of poetry, such as an octagram or a sonnet or a triolet. There's various kinds of poems. I explain a lot about poetry in the introduction and then give the examples in the book. Thank you very much for reading, and have a very good and wonderful day.
You can get this book when you go to http://outskirts.com/picturepoems. When you go there, it will have it will send you, if you click on a simple button, to either Barnes & Noble or Amazon.com. Thank you and goodbye.